Hey, Gabriel,
Hey, Gaybros Jose.
where are we today?
We're no longer in the pool in Palm Springs. We're in the spa in Palm Springs.
Yep. We actually had to disable the jets. It was a bit of a tragedy, but it would be pretty hard to record with the jets at the same time.
I feel like that's the best first world problem I've ever heard. We had to turn down the spa jet so we could record the podcast.
Yeah. I had a feeling that this can be probably one of the most Gabriel things that we have done in the whole podcast. But yeah, for celebrating, well, this is basically the end, the closure of our Palm Springs adventure when it comes to the podcast. So what do we watch for celebrating it?
We watched the 2023 awards favorite Poor Things by Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah. Did they win anything, any of the festivals? Emma Stone or something?
I have no idea. We should have looked this up.
Yeah. Sorry that we forgot about it. But the reason why we picked this some days ago when I came back from Spain, I was giving some time and I realized that it was playing in Chicago. And then is when I also realized that it was playing in Palm Springs. So we decided to delay and just having a live session of just going to watch it with our partners.
And I tried to watch this a couple weeks ago in San Francisco, and it wasn't even playing there.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah.
So also to answer your question, it's won a ton of awards. Emma Stone, Best Picture, Best Costume. It's won a lot.
Oh, so it's being recognized.
Yeah.
As a good movie. And as this was, and we also come from watching, what was the previous one, Dogtooth?
Yeah. Where
it was Dogtooth, the favorite. We're going to be watching also soon, The Beginning of a Sacred Year. So we have been in a phase of, let's just watch the whole filmography, and we still have pending to watch The Lobster.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Just for completeness.
So, because this was your pick, I have to summarize this. And so, there's a little bit of a problem. First, this film is I don't want to say too Tim Burton, but imagine Yorgos Lanthimos going Tim Burton style. So, it's very stylized, and it's also a recent release. So, I will say that we meet Dr. Godwin Baxter, who's played by Willem Dafoe, and he is a surgeon in London, and he teaches at a surgical school,
Yeah, surgical school. And it was founded by his father.
By his father, and he is the face of a monster, very Frankenstein-like.
Yeah.
And he has a student that shows some promise. His name is Max, and he invites Max home, and he says, "Hey."
By Rami Youssef.
Yes. You knew him as an actor?
Course. Yeah, I mean, he has a TV show on Hulu called Rami, I think.
Oh.
And it's pretty good. Yeah.
I didn't know him.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dr. Godwin brings Max home and says basically, "Hey, I found this woman who was committing suicide off the London Bridge, or a bridge in London, and she was pregnant at the time, and so after she died in the Thames, I took the brain out of the infant and put it into the mind of the mother, and so this is Emma Stone, who is Bella Baxter, and so there's this fully realized woman who has the mind of an infant, and she progresses like a toddler. She has difficulty with motor skills, with language skills, which improve over the course of the film, but it's basically about this Frankenstein-like woman who is becoming a human, and part of becoming human is becoming a sexual woman, and how that infuriates women, or infuriates men that she meets.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's a very core part of it, but it's also about discovering the world, from the perspective of a small child, about why things are bad, or what can I do for actually just doing it better, the idea of experimenting without the conditioning of society about what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah, it's about seeing the world through a child's view,
but not childish.
No, childlike. Like, just like the wonder of the world, the questioning of the world. Why are things this way? Why am I not allowed to, for instance, masturbate in front of other people I don't understand?
Yeah.
And then also she becomes not manipulative, but she does manipulate men to do things for her that ultimately have the result of not being good for that relationship and having it backfire. So it's a lot about what.
Who does she manipulate in that way?
Like Mark Ruffalo's character, like he pays for her to go on the ship, and then she kind of grows.
But she never
out of
asks
him.
her.
No, she's never asking for this, but she's like, okay, this guy did this for me, he was cool, and then he couldn't handle me having sex with other people, so I moved on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, it's not really like a move on. It's like he moved on.
Mark Ruffalo? He
Yeah,
never did.
Well, no, Mark Ruffalo, just imagine that it. Sorry, we're going to be like getting a bit into a spoiler territory.
Yeah, spoiler alert
here.
now.
But it's like after they get to Paris and they're like completely broke, and she actually says that she had the money by the father, is that Mark Ruffalo steals the money and runs away with it.
But at the end, what happens?
Well, he actually comes back because he cannot really move away, and he's like, oh, I think that I'm ready to forgive you, you know? But he said, well, you don't have to forgive her for anything. She didn't do anything. It's like you just dump her, literally, after stealing, you know, like the money, like her money. So from that perspective, I just feel like Emma Stone hasn't manipulated anyone, but has been like pretty open about, honest about like what she wants, what she needs.
I guess you're right. And in that regard, I would say this is a lot like Lars von Trier's Golden Heart trilogy, where this is a woman that's too pure. It's not too good, like Lars von Trier said. Like, she's just too, like, honest, like radically honest.
Yeah.
The world can't handle her.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably enough for the synopsis.
Yeah, we can start
It's like
there.
a reverse Frankenstein story.
Yeah.
And more about sexual awakening than like being worried a monster's gonna kill you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting that it's like the scary person is Willem Dafoe's character, you know, like physically.
Yeah, he's the scariest looking.
Yeah. And she is like, as it's called in the movie, a beautiful retard. Beautiful retard.
One of the best lines of the film is when Rami comes in as the assistant, and Emma Stone is dancing around like an infant, and he's like, "What a beautiful retard!" And that's the best laugh I think I got in 2023.
It was unexpected, but really well delivered. And the thing is, my boyfriend was putting it, is this is like really Gaudi esque. You know, it's not so much as the gothic stuff that Tim Burton would do. Is that there is this kind of more Victorian steampunk-esque kind of reality.
Yeah, when I said Tim Burton before, it was more about how when you watch, like, let's say Willy Wonka, the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka, everything comes from Tim Burton's imagination.
Yeah.
So it's the same in this film. Everything is a set. Everything is very stylized. It's a nice, unique, artistic take. But I will say that it's different from everything we've seen from Yorgos before.
Oh yeah.
And
well, I would say that the closest thing could be The Favourites, you know, but it was more grounded.
But
in
even
being
that
a
was
period
grounded
piece.
in reality.
Yeah.
This is not grounded in reality. In the
No,
slightest.
it's completely gone unhinged.
It's like an Alice in Wonderland tale of the modern ages. You disagree?
No, I'm analyzing why I feel a bit upset about that comparison. And I had the feeling that Alice in Wonderland is a visual spectacle for the sake of the visual spectacle. And I had the feeling that here there is visual spectacle, you know, about like what is created. But there is more to it. I just feel like there is a vehicle for the story.
That's true. In terms of like my personal interest in the characters, it's there. There's character development. It's not all about like this insane style with weird costumes. There's like an interesting story, but it's extremely stylized.
Oh yeah. But I'm not saying that it's the only thing. It's like when we usually say that it's like highly stylized, you can run into the risk of this becomes the only selling value of the movie.
Well, we talk about this sacrificing substance for style. I don't think he sacrificed anything.
No.
There's both style and substance here.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that's a good summary. There is more like twists and turns along the way, you know. But I think that the key part is what you mentioned. Is about the character growth and just like seeing how Emma Stone like develops. Well, her character Bella develops from an infant, barely able to communicate 2 words, down to having like very eloquent approaches, very eloquent
And
like monologues.
the way they develop that in the character is really well done, because when she's leaving the infant time period, she goes into a sexual awakening where she basically fucks everyone. She becomes a whore proudly.
Yeah.
She doesn't understand why morally that's wrong when she does it for fun.
Yeah.
Why can't she do it for money? But at about halfway through the movie, she starts reading Ralph Waldo Emerson. And Mark Ruffalo's character is in love with her at this point, but he doesn't like that she's getting smart, so she's like, he says, "You don't have that weird way of talking anymore. You speak super eloquently. What's going on?"
Yeah.
So they show like the development of this woman, and I do think this was a very strong feminist piece. But I love how like the smarter she gets, the more eloquent, the more well-spoken, the men around her just can't handle it at all.
Yeah. Do you think that there is a bit of a reflection portraying Emma Stone as a bit of a women, in how women are perceived by men?
Yeah, I think this entire movie is about the male gaze and how ridiculous it is, because it's like, no, this is a smart, interesting woman, but all these white men that are in power that try to control her, they don't give what they want, and so they get super frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, they get what they want, but it's that they don't want her to get what she wants too.
Yeah.
Is they want what they want on their terms, and they don't want to respect her as their own human being. And it's like at the beginning, Godwin, it actually tries to lock her up too. And he's struggling with the idea of her like going into the world. It's about like protectionist men and child. At the end, it's like she's more mature than all of the man-childs that she's around. Like the only one that is a bit better is Rami, I guess.
But Rami also wants to marry the childish.
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And the fact that what's his name? Godwin?
Yeah.
What's his name? The
Willem Dafoe.
So Willem Dafoe, his character's name is Godwin, but of course Bella calls him God.
Yeah.
And so it's a little heavy-handed in the like retelling of the Adam and Eve story, except it's reversed. And in fact, there's a scene, well, spoiler alert, at the very end, when Bella comes back because God is dying, and Rami is in love with her, and they both lay next to him, and you're like, oh, so this is biblical. Okay, I get it. All right.
Yeah. I like also the actress that they get for the Bella Chu.
Who?
So the second experiment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so God is super sad that Bella left, so they recreate the same experiment with less success.
Yeah.
So they have even more beautiful
That
retard without the intelligence.
Yeah.
Where is she from?
Yeah, we saw her in. She's like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like the crazy.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
She's
And
one of the
also-
Manson people.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she's also in The Leftovers. She was the daughter of not just Ross. I don't remember who is the name. But I mean.
Overall, so I want to be very clear, I liked this film. I think
yeah.
it's good. I think I would even say excellent. And of course, I always talk about like, even when we're critical of a film, I have to say what else is in theaters right now. This is the most interesting thing in theaters. But because I love Yorgos Lanthimos, and because on the podcast we've been watching several of his movies recently, I can't help but feel that this is more a childish view of the world, and we've been discussing the difference between childlike and childish. For me, this was a little childish, and if you compare it to The Favorite or The Lobster, which were completely films grounded in reality, this doesn't feel super.
Well, it's not grounded in reality from the perspective that it's a crazy world, just for starters, you know. So it's completely unhinged. It's like from that perspective, it's like you can just go crazy with whatever the story. But what I find like more and more interesting is that when we actually just look into the metaphors that it's doing, you know, about like what is like the kind of message, what is the type of like takeaway that you can take, and it's more about our world. It's not about that world that doesn't make any sense. We even see a point that Godwin is eating, and because of experiments that his father ran on him, oh, I think that's something there. He basically cannot digest food, so he just like bursts like bubbles when he's eating. It's like everything is dreamlike in there. But also the part that is more interesting is that still there is a lot of messages that it can be applied to our world. So from that perspective, I feel like this is a very bold, auteurist kind of piece.
I don't disagree with you. I just think that his strength is grounded in reality. So you could say all the same things you just said about Poor Things, about The Lobster. There's plenty of metaphor. It's interesting. It's commentary on our current society. But I take The Lobster more seriously than I do this film.
Yeah. I mean, it's easier to actually take it like more seriously, but I also feel like this doesn't demerit like what he has done here. It's true that it's not as standard as it's not as standard as what it would be the other movies, you know, that he has done. But I think that I appreciate the experimentation that he's doing here.
Okay. So if you were to rank his last 5 movies, say.
So the last 5 movies. Well, I shouldn't do it because we haven't talked about the Killing of the Secret Dealer.
But I love The Lobster. You love The Favorite. I also like The Favorite a lot.
Yeah.
But
I would say, honestly, the more that we talk about this, is that the more I think that there can be like something really interesting in this movie. I think that there is like some potential in here, but I haven't like consumed it enough, you know. So it's more of a situation of I may need to rewatch this movie. Not right now. Of course, is that we need to score it, but it's like I think that I need to rewatch it for having a complete idea if I like it or not.
Well, not to skip to
no,
the
if I like it.
questions.
Sorry, not if I like it or not. If I think that it's an amazing movie or only a good movie.
And I would agree. I want to rewatch it, and I think it's important to call out that I would rewatch this film tomorrow.
Yeah, me too.
Especially with my husband, because I would like to get his take on it. There's a lot that's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
I don't like being so critical about it, but I just feel like when you produce like The Favorite and The Lobster, it's super hard to compare it to that.
Yeah, and you actually took like some years in between, like The Lobster and the Favorite. Well, sorry, between The Favorite and this and Poor Things, because The Favorite was 2019. Yeah, it was.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was for years, you know. So the people were like really looking forward to it. Like, The Favorite was amazing. Before The Favorite was Killing of Sacred Deer. That I think that is good. I'm not going to be like getting to at what point good. And before that was The Lobster. That it was like where most people actually got to hear from him, you know. Because before that was Alps.
But I mean, Dogtooth won Best Foreign Film.
Oh, he won this?
Yeah, so it was like a big deal in America. Dogtooth was.
Oh, I didn't know that he actually won.
Well,
Best
now
Foreign.
I feel like I should check, but it at least got nominated.
No, I believe you. But I think that this we're talking earlier. I think that we were not recording, but we're talking about like what is happening when Netflix gives like an unlimited amount of money, and how directors do something crazy. This feels like something crazy, but it feels something crazy with substance.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't feel like, hey, I want to do like one more mob film with Robert De Niro, or I want to do like these black and white random projects because I couldn't do it 30 years ago because they were not giving me insane amount of money for doing it.
No, I agree. And this film also ran almost 2 hours. Almost.
I think so. No, a bit more. I think 2 hours 20.
Oh yeah, and it felt like it was 2 seconds in the theater.
Yeah.
Like it was super entertaining. Yeah. There was a lot to talk about. I think so. We watched it with your boyfriend, and we drove home, and we were like talking about it constantly.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, no, it's a good movie. For me, it's like the thing that I cannot debate. Yet I cannot decide if it's a good movie or a great movie.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah. So should we do the questions?
Let's do the questions. All right, so Jose. My fingers are too wet to open the phone.
I know.
Okay. So, would you watch this again?
Yes. And I will watch it on my, tomorrow.
Yeah, I honestly would rewatch it tomorrow alone or with my husband, but like you said, I want to find out, is this a good film or a great film? It's definitely good.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's like completely timeless. So would you recommend this?
I think so. You know, I'll go with yes from the perspective that I think that it's a good film, but now I'm not completely sure on what specific conversation would I actually recommend it, you know.
Would you recommend this to your parents?
No, it's too sexual for that.
It's extremely sexual.
Yeah. So, from
I kind of forget this as a gay man, because all the sexuality is...
Yeah, it's like, you don't care.
It's no. Yeah, I would recommend this. I also don't know the specific conversation, but yeah,
because the thing is that this movie is pretty different from everything else he has done, besides The Favourite. The Favourite was also different from everything else that he had done.
Yeah.
You know? So he's like just basically exploring more and more of what he can do. So from that perspective, is like I'm curious about like where he's going to go next. His last 2 movies were different from the rest, and I appreciate that. But if someone asks me, would you recommend me a Yorgos Lanthimos movie? I probably will go with Dogtooth.
Dogtooth, then what?
Dogtooth, and maybe The Lobster, I could say, and then The Favourite. But I think that we even like when we watched The Favourite, and we're discussing a bit more about like what is more palatable or what is less palatable.
I would honestly recommend The Favourite as like an entry Yorgos Lanthimos.
But it's different from the rest of the style, you know, that he has done. And I'm curious about like what type of director is he becoming? Is he becoming more like this experimental auteur, like fixed lens kind of thing, you know? That I love. Honestly, I love, and I think that I told you when it was The Favourite, like even back then when the movie was released, it's like this feels like the experimental 70s, like nowadays, and I want him to keep being this experimental, like with more and more stuff.
He does play with like, there's this zoom that's so 70s, where it's like you're super far, the camera's super far away, and they zoom in super close. That feels so 70s, and he did it a ton in The Favourite and this film, and I was like, I like this.
But it's like he's embracing that, and so from that perspective, it's like this is a different Yorgos Lanthimos. It's like if someone just puts Dogtooth and this, I wouldn't be able to connect the director. I think that I would have like a hard time, like just saying this is the same director. Not that it's bad. I think that it's great actually, but he's evolving.
I wonder if maybe I feel a little bit like I do about Steve McQueen, where what was the first film that I love so much?
Hunger.
Hunger. So Hunger was very like experimental and weird, and he got to a place where he did 12 Years a Slave, and it's like, okay, you're growing as a filmmaker, but the stories are less interesting. So I wonder if that's how I feel about Yorgos.
It may be, but I think that this story is still interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's like it sounds like pretty easy to do how do you say a Frankenstein story, but I think that this is way more nuanced and complex than what usually like a Frankenstein story would be.
Okay, so will you remember this film?
I think so. Not everything, but I will remember that is like this is what Emma Stone is, what Bella is, and this is what she does. You know, about like running away and then horror, blah 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 blah. You know, I'm going to be like forgetting some of the characters and some of the stories.
I think I'm going to remember most of this film.
Yeah.
I agree. Is there anything artistic about it?
Holy shit, yes. Yes, and we were discussing it like since the first frame, that even like when they are presenting like the how do you say like the opening panels, you know, the movie, and you see like these embroiderments that then you see on the wall, that the wall has like this like very soft fabric, and it has like some embroiderments, but just like done with a thread. Is like, I thought that it's like this could have been done by Bjork.
Yeah, I had the same thought. Especially during the wedding scene.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's Bjork.
Yep. 100% Bjork. A bit more toned down Bjork.
But still the same style.
Yeah, it's still the same
100%.
style. Yeah.
So is this a timeless piece?
This is tricky because you know a movie that I thought about. It was like City of the Lost Children.
I had the same thought. I'm not joking. I was like,
Yeah.
this is like super stylized. Well, that film is like 90s stylized.
Yeah.
And I had the thought about this film. Is it too like 2020s?
That's the part that I was thinking too about. Like, hey, is this something that if we look at it like 20 years in the future, we're going to be a bit of a no, this didn't age in the right way because it's mostly green screen.
So what is your answer?
Only time will tell. No.
IDK?
The what?
IDK?
IDK. No, honestly, I don't know. I guess I'm going to go with it's a timeless piece. The topic, I think that is timeless. You know, the story, I think that is timeless. Now, the aesthetic, I'm not sure.
That could age.
Yeah.
I agree. So my answer is yes, but I have the same concerns you do. In 10 years, I might be like, it's too 2020.
Yeah.
So would you turn this into a TV show?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah. No, not at all. Could this have been a short?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think that this would have been a short.
I think they could have absolutely shown this in 50 minutes.
In 15 minutes?
50, 50.
Are you joking?
Yeah. We didn't need to have that many sex scenes for Emma Stone. It's fantastic, but they spend a lot of time being like, she's sexual. She likes to touch herself.
Yeah, but I didn't feel like it was completely filler. It's like part of
No.
her
It's
growth.
not filler. I'm not saying I enjoyed every moment of the film, but this could have been a short.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Okay. So
That's your opinion. You're wrong, but that's absolutely fine.
yes for me, no,
No,
for
for
you.
me.
Okay. Do you think this movie could have been better?
No. No, I don't think that. I mean, as you said, it's like too much sex. You know, there is some editing that can be done. For me, I just left with like this was a very complex cathedral of a movie that I watched. You know something that it reminded me of? I may regret this. I seen a Dog New York.
Like what?
Seen a Dog New York?
Huh?
Because I also feel it's like, look, this is a gargantuan movie. You know, it's a gigantic.
Scope is just
This
enormous,
scope
yeah.
is enormous, you know. And it's like what you end up doing is like just giving me this story in Senator New York about like these broken men, and here is about like this woman, how she grows from an infant to actually, you know, like a developed human being, and just using her as a mirror to that society and to our society. And I feel it's like this is huge. What I'm looking at.
I agree. I think this movie is beyond my film criticism experience. I can't point out something like, oh, you should have done this, you should have done this. No,
Yeah.
there's nothing I can say. This was an opportunity to improve.
Yeah.
Alright, well, the only thing left to do is score it?
Score it? Okay, cool. So this was my pick, so I guess that you have to score it first.
I'm gonna call this, and again, I want to rewatch it because I don't know. I'm gonna call it an 8 for now.
That's funny because that's exactly my score. An 8 for now. I honestly have the feeling that is like, if it clicks, if I rewatch it again, is that this could be easily a 9.
I agree, and I want to rewatch it with you maybe like in 3 months and be like, was this?
Yep. Was it more or less?
And I'm hopeful. I think I'm going to like it more the second time. I really am.
Yeah. No, but for me it was like visually it was a surprise, but I think that it was like so visually over sensorial. How do you say, like exposure?
It's like a sensory overload.
Yeah, sensory overload. You know, that is like maybe made it harder to actually sympathize or resonate with some of the topics, and I think that the topics are there.
I agree, but I will also call out that we both laughed out loud like many times. It's a very funny film.
Oh yeah.
Very funny.
Yeah, I had a feeling that Yorgos Lanthimos is pretty good on delivering comedy.
Yeah.
Even in dramas. Yeah.
Like a weird ass dark comedy.
Yeah. Like Angry Jerkov in The Favorite. Yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, man, that was a fun experience. I'm happy that we got to see it like in person, like the three of us.
I think in 2023 we only saw 2 films together.
Don't tell me what was the other one.
It was in Chicago, and I don't remember what it was,
Oh
but I
my God.
remember we went to the Gene Siskel.
Yeah. What was the one we went to? Was La Noche?
Oh yeah.
It was La Noche. Okay. We didn't go to the musical theater.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to say?
No, that's it. I mean, go see this movie. It's good. It's funny. We just don't know if it's great.
Yep. Okay. And what are we watching next?
We're going to watch another Yorgos Lanthimos film, A Killing of the Sacred Deer.
Yeah. Okay. Looking
starring
forward.
Nicole Kidman and Colin Farrell, and the guy from Saltburn. So check it out.
That guy from Saltburn. Okay. And to everyone else out there, thank you so much for listening to us. And
wash your hands unless you're in a hot tub with someone with COVID.
okay. Bye.